Hi y'all, Jeff here with Jeff's Cars and Garage, and welcome back to another video. This is a different video of sorts, kind of. As you see, I'm in my garage. I'm next to my 280 SEL, and that's going to be another video coming up because I think I'm going to try and work on this either a little bit today or a little bit tomorrow if Jose comes out. We're kind of maybe put the radio in it and maybe take it out for a drive. But this video is going to talk a little bit about and I put predictions out there from time to time, and I've made predictions to my wife, and a couple months down the road, she'll come up and say, "Oh, you predicted it." And I said, "Yeah." So am I usually right? Sometimes I am, and as some of you that follow my channel, I'm more of a serious person. I'm kind of an analytical type of person, but I also look at things in a logical sense of the way. I listen to some news reports, so especially ones that catch my eye or ears and so forth. But one of the things that came out just recently is the new car sales and the new car sales and earnings reports. And some of you have probably seen, what's been going on, and some of the manufacturers are reporting that they've had earnings loss. Well, earnings. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. We've got sales, which is revenue, and we have earnings, which is taking that revenue that you've earned off of each sale, and then the earnings is basically the profit after the cost of manufacturing, the cost of doing business, buying the parts, and so on and so forth. It's typical, accounting 101. You sell something, and then you got to pay everything, and then what's left is what you make. Okay, so some of the ones that in first quarter, some of the sales were up. Okay, sales were up, and some of the leaders were first quarter were Volkswagen, and then let me see here. Well, I think that was about it. Yes, Volkswagen. Don't understand that one, but and I'll get back to VW was up. Sales were up 7.1%. Not sure about their earnings because I haven't dove that far for that, but their inventory is also up. And this is kind of an overall throughout the industry. But the inventory is of the cars sitting on new car lots is up actually 9% from the previous period, previous time a year ago. So during first quarter of this year, basically January, February, March, there were a lot of cars on new car lots. Okay, about 9% more than there were the year before. And keep in mind, the year before and the year before that, we're just coming back out of the COVID and the part shortages and the chip shortages and the, all of the shortages that, were out there driven. So, I guess I'm lost my train of thought, but I guess, each year, each car manufacturer, depending on what your market share is, you should always have an increase in sales. You're not going to stay in business very long if you have a drop in sales. Oh, but wait. Stellantis Their revenue, now this is the sales, was off by 14%. 14% from a year ago. Same time period. Well, Stellantis, what did you do? Oh, wait a minute. You produced the Ram truck without the Hemi V8. Okay? You had lots of recalls on the Chrysler Pacifica minivan. That has nothing to do with revenue, but the consumer, if you have a lot of recalls, they ain't gonna buy your vehicle because they already know about it. They know about the recall. Jeep, well, you can't build a Jeep that's, every person that's a Jeep owner, at least one that's about 5 or 6 years old or older, you're constantly rebuilding it, and then you as a Jeep owner, you're married to it, so you might as well keep it. So, but Stellantis, however, had, well, not only was their revenue off about 14%, their profit was off by 21%. Now, tell me how that figures out. That's a lot of mismanagement. If you really want to think about it, if your sales are off 14% and your profit is off over 20%, that's a lot of mismanagement because the numbers aren't numbering. The accounting is not accounting. And so what really drove that was, the sales being off were all driven by Chrysler, Ram, and Jeep. But Fiat, however, their sales were up by 239%, driven by the electric 500e. So Stellantis, you need to pay attention to what people are wanting to buy and what, and you need to readjust. Now, Stellantis says, and I've heard this, and I hope this is true, they're going to reintroduce the Hemi engine for the Ram pickup back, for 2026. Hopefully that'll spark it. But, the damage has been done. The people went and bought F-150s and Chevrolet trucks, which the next one is. GM sold 693,000 vehicles, which was up for first quarter, and most of it was in pickups. Pickups were the best since 2007. And wait a second, let's think about that for a second, because 2007 was probably one of the better years for the Chevy 1500. It was late 2007 and early 2008 that they came out with the active oil management, the active fuel management, and GM didn't want to take care of any of that because, well, it was just a bad system that they hadn't refined. And by the time the truck got to about 75,000 miles, you had trouble with that, and you starved it for oil, and you pretty much had to either rebuild the engine or replace it with one that didn't go bad. That active oil and fuel management was just not a good thing. They use it now, but they have finally perfected it. Audi sales were down 3%. Ford F-150s, they sold, F-150 is the number one selling truck, sold 501,000 units in first quarter, but it was down by 1.3% from a year ago. But they still sold 501,000 units of it. Interesting. Mercedes sold 75,000, a little over 75,000 units, up 1% from previous year. Nissan, quarter one sales were up 5.7% with 267,000 plus units sold. Okay. Nissan builds mainly economy cars. They don't build, I've mentioned another vehicle, they don't have to build trucks. And they really don't. Rivian. This one confuses me a little bit. Rivian produced more than 14,000 vehicles, but they only sold 8,600. So they have a surplus of inventory of, 6,000 vehicles. So you're producing more than what and you don't have a dealer network, theoretically. Okay? Tesla. This one's a good one. And, well, when you have Elon Musk going into the White House to do Doge and you're not running your company, no wonder your sales were down 16.3%. They only produced 362,600 units in quarter one. Well, you got to slow production. You're going to have to lay people off if your sales aren't there. Okay? That's how it works. Toyota sales up almost 1%, with the electric vehicle surging at 39.6%. VW sales were up 7.1%, and some of it is and a good portion of that was in the electric vehicles. Let's talk about that, folks. Electric vehicles. Now, the big beautiful bill just came out. Of course, it came out in before the right about the beginning of third quarter. Sometime here in the month of July. So back in January, February, March, when the first quarter, when all that was in, people are buying electric vehicles, probably to get that $7,500 tax credit. I'm gonna bet, prediction number one, that quarter two, when the sales results come out right about the beginning of quarter three, electric vehicles are still going to be up, because you'll get that $7,500 tax credit for 2025, but for 2026 tax year, you will not. Thank you, Congress, and the big beautiful bill. You screwed up. But again, am I an electric vehicle? Am I a proponent for electric vehicles? No. I like the roar of a nice engine. Okay. Do I really like? Do I like the gas consumption of these vehicles? No, not really, because I hate going to the gas station and putting $45 in there to go 300 miles, but whatever. So, but I think that's what the consumer is trying to do. Okay, well, let's get into the electric vehicle. It's going to cost us less to operate it. It's going to cost us less to maintain it. I'll have something in case still the gas prices go up and we have an oil embargo again, and who knows what we're going to have. But I think that's a lot of it, is so that they can get the $7,500 tax credit. Now, what's going to happen come, sales of third quarter sales? Because we're in third quarter now. Are sales going to continue on the rise? Well, probably, at least at this rate, probably not. Maybe, but maybe not. Because here's what's going to happen is 2026s are soon to start arriving on dealer lots, if they haven't already. There's some of them that probably are, the 2026 model years are starting to arrive, the first ones. And the prices, my prediction is that they will be higher. They will be between 7 and 13% higher, depending on the model, depending on the electronics, and depending on all the components that are in the vehicle. Okay, the simpler vehicles, probably not as much, but the high-end Escalades, the Navigators, the Lincoln cars, the Cadillac cars, all of the luxury vehicles that have so many electrical components that are made someplace else and brought in to be assembled in the vehicle in the United States, those will be the ones that the people are, that the prices are going to be higher. Now, here's something else to think about. Is it you and me, the working people that are buying those high-end cars? No, it's the wealthy. Okay, so Trump, your tax bill and all the stuff that you're doing, you're affecting the wealthy. While you took away taxing them, you're making them pay more for consumer products. I don't know if this is going to work out, but okay, whatever. But it's still going to trickle down and affect the working person, because even that Chevrolet pickup, even that 1500 Custom, it still has a certain amount of electronics in it, because we rely on these vehicles today. Like I have mentioned in other vehicles, technicians now plug a computer in to diagnose the vehicle and its problems. 1972, there was not a daggum computer in this car. You listen to the engine, you listen to what it says, and it will tell you what's wrong with it. But today, a technician, they got to plug a computer in for that to tell them what they need to start to fix, and then it just continues on from there. So, sorry for the rant there, but folks, it's going to get worse before it gets better. The new car sales, I believe, will start to fall off. The 2026 model year beginning, the sales for the 2026 model year in third quarter will probably be a lot less. The end of the year clearances are kind of, the dealers will probably have gone through a lot of their 2025s, because traditionally right around Thanksgiving, football season, each of the manufacturers are advertising model year clearance. Got to get them out of here before the end of the year, so they don't have to count them on their inventory. I don't foresee a lot of that taking place. There might be a 2-week period in there that's where they advertise it, but not for the entire month. Toyota usually does their year-end sell-a-thon, but they're not really promoting the model year-end clearance, but they are promoting the year-end sell-a-thon, get it bought before the end of the year. So I see things falling off a little bit for third quarter, because we're going to have to absorb that price increase that's coming through, because GM, if their profits are off, they've got to get back to their profits, because that's what they have to answer to their shareholders for. So, just some food for thought there, folks. Thanks for watching. Put your comments down below. It's going to be a rough ride from here to the end of the year, and probably into first quarter next year, but we'll see what happens. Have a great day. Comments, subscribe. Tell me what you think. Have a great day.